Hello friends, welcome back to another episode of Bala and Bala, Perspectives on Education. I have two Balas here with me today, sitting on either side of the table. One of course is Mr. G. Bala Subramanian. He is a doyen of education who's been in the space for many decades now. He's of course known better for his role that he had previously taken, that is the Director Academics of CBSE. And on the other hand, I have Mr. Giri Bala Subramaniam, who's better known as Big Brain. Those of you who have quizzed with him will know him better as a quiz master. Welcome to both of you for this discussion here today. So today's topic is about something that has always probably haunted us when we were students, all of us. What are you going to do in your future? What career path are you going to take? So today's discussion is going to revolve around career paths. The topic of discussion is going to be alignment of NEP towards career paths. So the new education policy 2020 has come out, and the way all of us have gone through the NEP, we have figured that it has some amount of alignment towards the career paths that all these students can take in the future. So my first question to both of you: why should schools focus on career paths at an age when they should be focusing on the learning process of their students? Why is it important at such an early age?
It is just like, when you plant a, a tree, right in the beginning you have got to take care of the growth profile of the tree. You need nutrients, you need support, you need good soil, and then the tree automatically takes care of itself and then grows and gives the necessary fruits. Similarly, when you talk of the career path, the way a child blossoms into life and then takes a profession, how he manifests himself in life, and what kind of contribution he would make to the society, and his level of productivity, all that have to be prepared right at the young age. So to me, when you say a career path, it is not a job that he does, but the kind of a life profile that he is designed for himself and himself or herself. But need to be both gender sensitive, because today a large number of the folks from both men and women go for work, and therefore both of them need to be nurtured right from the school days with mental attitudes, soft skills, competencies, and clear understanding of the dynamics of life, so that they can fit into any kind of profession they choose for their life.
What do you have to add to that?
I think, contrary to the past, the NEP today is actually advocating a wider spectrum of exposure for the child rather than narrow casting options like we said, either engineer or doctor or anything else. It was viewed, unfortunately, in just three compartments. Today, NEP actually advocates bringing out individual talents, nurturing them, providing them with far more opportunities to experiment with subjects. So I think it's actually allowing the child to learn, explore, and evolve into culture of picking what they think they're good at and choosing what they like. So I think that's what over a period of time NEP will allow us to do. It may not be visible right now, but that's the way, if I crystal gaze, I see it helping us.
All right, let's move on to the next topic of discussion. What does NEP recommend to schools to ensure that they become more career path, aligned to more career paths?
That's a very interesting question. As I was going through some pages of the National Education Policy, right from the ECCE level at the pre-primary level, the first word that gravitated me was self-help skills, right? So the most important thing that gives you, the need for self-awareness, self-confidence, self-image, and what you call self-actualization at a later point of time. So starting from the understanding of the self, it takes you to the next level of what you call critical thinking. I think whatever we learn, we must be able to think critically, analytically, and also find solutions to the problems concerned. I think that's a very important aspect of the national education policy which says that our children should be able to face challenges, ask daring questions, and try to have a researching mind, because the most important thing is researching is a process. It is not really finding out the result. So it doesn't matter what kind of career you are going to choose in life, but a researching mind is very much necessary. And subsequently, as you go, a sense of enterprise, right? I think entrepreneurship has been recommended very strongly in this course. So all these things are life skills, vocational skills, and self-management skills, which I think will nurture the individual to become confident, competent, and contribute to citizens for the country, whatever career they choose. I think that's my answer.
How do you think NEP is getting the schools to be more aligned to the careers?
So I think there is a clear focus on career awareness. That's a good focus, just to make children aware. The second area is introduction of vocational skills. That is exposure to those areas. The third is areas like entrepreneurship, etc., which prepares you on a journey tomorrow to convert those skills into perhaps a business proposition and so on and so forth. So those are the good things that is laid out by NEP. What it also does is, I think, to create a lesser dependency for the student in the future for a career path versus the examination route. Today, there is a greater focus, in my view, on the learning of the child and the methodology in which the child should learn, which is not the rote method, and the examination being dependent on determining the career. So I think those are the shifts that is intended. See, these are currently, like the first metaphor Sir gave, this is like we are at the seed stage of NEP. So it's only when it bears fruits that you're going to see the proof of this, policy. But I think that's the intended direction and the intended trajectory that this will take when it gets implemented.
You mentioned about vocational skills. So that actually moves me into the next question that I have for you. As a nation, we have been talking about vocational learning for ages now. It's nothing new that we are coming across. So is NEP 2020, or this angle of NEP 2020, old wine in new bottle? A comment?
No, I don't think so. In all fairness, I don't think so. Yes, we had something called job-oriented courses and so on and so forth. But the clarity and the future alignment of what they're talking currently is very, very different. Second, linking these very clearly, like I said, with areas like entrepreneurship, linking these not necessarily to jobs after schools, but for you to identify what you want to study after school, but therefore be more competent. Vocational learning and vocational skills in schools is not only to get you job ready, it's also to give you a practical exposure in that topic to make you deeper in love with that subject. So if, for example, you've got automobiles or automobile skills in schools, now tinkering with a machine or tinkering with an automobile might actually make you aspire to be an automobile engineer tomorrow. That is the larger intent. It's not merely that, I want to make you a tailor or a barber or a carpenter, which was probably a limited view of the past.
What you would like to add to that, sir?
Well, I think when I listen to this word vocational skills, my memory goes back to the recommendations of the Kothari Commission, where it was first recommended as a very important dimension of the curriculum. The reason being, at that time, the Commission thought that 80% of the students will leave the school after the 10th class, and only about 20 to 30% students will move towards higher education. And therefore, these students should be able to meet the job requirements of the country, semi-skilled jobs of the country at that particular point of time. But over the years, our concept of skill-based learning has changed. Today, we don't look at skills as semi-skills which are required for the job. Today we talk about competency based learning. We talk about skill based learning. So it is a continuum. The skills are changing day in and day out with the kind of technologies and other kind of electronic interventions that are happening around. So today the very concept of skill education changing, vocational education has got a newer meaning. Once upon a time, vocational education was considered as secondary to cognitive education, at the universities. Today, that's no more valid. As a matter of fact, people with these hands-on skills are earning much better and more required in the community today as compared to people who just acquire a degree. So I do think that the perspectives of vocational education is changing. Number one. Number two, probably the kind of a mental stigma associated with the word vocational education has to be erased from the minds of the people, and we do need to look at that more as a skill-based education. And as Begiri pointed out very clearly, let us not look at skills as requirements of a job or a career subsequently. Even for our self-management skills, our home skills, you may not get the kind of people to do the job repairs at home. So you need to have them. So let's try to look at vocational skills as complementary to the cognitive learning that we have, and they provide the holistic aspect of education.
So coming to jobs and careers, are we preparing our children for jobs or for careers? What are we doing in schools?
Well, I think that's another very challenging question in the sense that jobs for the last couple of years, I should say a few decades, paper degrees were being linked to jobs. And, I remember that in 1987, the National Policy of Education under the Rajiv Gandhi government, when it was announced that we should talk of a paperless, job, right? Where you degreeless job. That's how we talk about. Today your papers and degrees really do not, certify the kind of competency that you have. And that's one of the reasons that most private companies are looking for people who are trainable, right? Rather than who have degrees. And similarly, even in school situation, for the national policy talks about learnability of the learner than the learning of the learner. I think these are the terms by which we open up the competencies of children for a futuristic job. To conclude, I must say, it is very difficult to say that these are the skills required for the jobs of the future, because just jobs are changing, careers are changing. So, you as a matter, you must be able to change your career also in the, depending on your passion, depending on your availability, in your lifetime. That's why we talk about lifelong learning. So I think that the self-learning, continuous learning, continuous empowerment of skills are the basic for both the job and the career.
Job or career?
I have a different perspective. I think if we are looking at school education and the children who are in school today, the jobs that they are going to get into when they are 25 years old or 30 years old don't exist as of now. It does not even exist. It happened even in my generation, which is probably 25, 30 years ahead of their generation. What I learned in school and what jobs the world is into today did not exist in this world when I was in school.
Yeah, like game developer, YouTuber, these are careers unheard of.
And you got fourth standard kids telling you, I want to be a YouTuber today.
Yes.
So you can't really train people for a job or a career. You can train them with skills that will help them adapt to this. And let's be clear on one thing. The world is clearly moving in one direction, which is lifelong learning. There is no excuse on that front. You've got to keep reskilling yourself at every stage of your career if you want to stay ahead and if you want to stay relevant. So I think if that basic premise is what I come with, then it doesn't really matter to me whether it's a job or a career.
Okay. So what do you think is the right age for vocational learning to begin with when you start? What would be the right age?
The time you step into the school. See, to me, making a cup of tea, training a child to make a cup of tea when he's in class 2 or 3 is as good as training a person in hospitality management at subsequent time. It's only a different aspect. So it's all in the mindset. To me, when you talk of a holistic education, it is an integrated education. The mind, the body, and the spirit has to be talked about. Hands-on work is as important as the learning that you have from the book onwards. So, I recall a very interesting aspect when I was a director of the board, that we brought a book called Alternatives to Homework. The reason being, we said homework is not the classwork being done at home. Homework is the work being done at home. Therefore, the ability of a child to lay a table, to invite a person, to get the bedroom organized, to make a cup of tea, or to facilitate and make a sandwich for the morning breakfast. And these are as important as anything else. So, to me, right from the first standard onwards, you have to integrate, the vocational learning along with the cognitive.
He says first standard. What do you say?
The risk of sitting in discussions like this with someone like him is you have nothing to answer when he says, something. Honestly, when you ask the question, I went by the NEP. NEP says early vocational starting class 6, but he's absolutely right. It really made me think as he was speaking. It's about what you define vocational skill as. I'm completely with him. Japan does it. Japan actually teaches their children a lot of life skills that are required for you to run life. From class 1 in that country or class 2 in that country, children are encouraged, and parents go with that encouragement of the schools to send the child to school through the local metro train.
Yes, that's true.
Now, just close your eyes and imagine the panic we're going to have among parents in India if we implement that. But that is skill. You need to know at that age to at least learn to go from place A to place B on your own. Look at the reciprocal contributions of that decision. Look at the confidence that the child will get by saying, I can go, I can manage my life. Everything comes, self-management, self-learning. All of that gets built into a simple decision saying, send the child to school on their own. So, yeah, I think very different way of answering it, but I think he's made me think differently today saying class 1. Why not? Why not? Absolutely.
All right. Thank you both for joining us in this discussion here today. We, of course, are going to have many more interesting topics for the discussion coming up in the upcoming episodes. So, my dear friends, don't go anywhere. Join us back in the next episode of Bala and Bala Perspectives on Education. Believe me, we are going to have many more interesting topics that are going to come up. We will see you in the next episode.